Hello, and welcome to the Parole Decision Guideline Tool Scoring Training. This will be a brief walkthrough of how to fill out the instrument. Remember, this tool is best completed as a consensus when the caseworker, CTL, and unit or housing manager are all together. The CTL must sign off on the scoring sheet. To begin, locate the Pdgt scoring sheet on the intranet under the Reentry section titled Reentry Planning and Pdgt. Make sure to download it to your desktop each time. Let's go ahead and open it up. We want to make sure we enable editing. At the top of the form, make sure to type in the inmate's name and number. The first section we will complete is the discipline section. I like to have WICUS pulled up to make sure I have everything correct. So as you can see, I have Darth Vader pulled up in the discipline section. Let's go through the scoring guide. Is the inmate discipline-free in the past 3 years? As you can see, he doesn't have any disciplines, so our final answer is a 0. Go ahead and place 0 in the appropriate box. Let's now move on to the case plan progress of inmate Vader. I like to have Compass pulled up so I can go over a few things from the assessment. As this is an inmate whose case you are most likely familiar with, some of these will be easier to identify than others. The main things to look at initially are substance abuse needs, sex offender needs, cognitive needs, education, and any other needs that should be addressed. Let's go ahead and look at the bar chart. Alright, now let's go ahead and look at the bar chart. As you can see, inmate Vader's substance abuse needs are unlikely, so he will score 0 in this section, as he does not need to be addressing this. Inmate Vader is not a sex offender, so he will score a 0 in this section. Inmate Vader scores an 8 for his cognitive behavioral, so we will need to check his progress on addressing this need to find the score for the Pdgt. Inmate Vader scores unlikely in education, so he will most likely not address anything and will score 0 in this section. Inmate Vader does have a few other highly probable and probable needs, such as social isolation, criminal personality, criminal thinking, anger, residential instability, and social environment. We need to make note of these. As his caseworker, we should know whether he is addressing any of these and his progress. Let's go back to the Pdgt to enter the scores. For substance abuse, we will go ahead and put a 0 since it doesn't apply to him. However, if you have an inmate who needs to be addressing this area, but you are unsure, make sure to consult with a substance abuse treatment provider to determine the assessed level of need and status of program participation. For sex offender needs, we will place a 0, since this also does not apply to inmate Vader. As we discussed above, inmate Vader does have some cognitive needs which needs to be addressed. So let's go back to WICUS and check his programming status. It does look like he is enrolled in T4C. So back to the Pdgt, we can score inmate Vader a 1 since he is addressing his cognitive needs. Under education, we can score inmate Vader a 0 since it does not apply to him. In the other highly probable and probable areas, we can actually score inmate Vader a 2 because he is not addressing any other areas. The only program he was enrolled in was T4C and Alcoholics Anonymous. And if you remember from his bar chart, he had several other highly probable needs which needed to be addressed. This section will apply to each inmate differently, so make sure to research your inmate and the case plan goals and progress. We will now move on to placing an X in the appropriate boxes. If you remember from above, we recognize social isolation and anger as inmate Vader's probable and highly probable needs. Let's go ahead and place an X next to those areas. Alright, let's move on to the risk score section. Let's refer back to our compass bar chart. Violent recidivism is a 2, and general recidivism is a 1. We can now go back to the Pdgt and enter the appropriate score. Since we are basing this information off of the core compass, we need to make sure to place an NA in the boxes not utilized. So make sure the reentry compass has NA. And since inmate Vader is not a sex offender, we will not have a static or stable score, so we need to place NA in those boxes as well. However, those scores can be located in compass. Double check to make sure all your scores match what you want them to state. And at the bottom of the spreadsheet, click over to the Decision Guideline Report. Before we look at any of the other information, let's make sure to complete the rest of this form. At the top, we need to place the staff completing this document, the date of completion, and institution. You can see it's a drop-down box. And date of completion. The first section, which we'll calculate, are the factors concerning the inmate's progress. As you can see, disciplinary, good progress, case plan progress is moderate, so his total score is good progress. Let's move down to other considerations as needed. As you can see, violent recidivism and general recidivism. And then down in the other considerations, this is information that you can type, and it can include specifics about the case that are important for the parole board to consider in making the parole decision, or in setting pre- and post-release conditions, such as a sentence structure consideration, treatment availability in or out of the facility, detainers, interstate compact requests, and any other significant institutional behavior considerations. You can also include community planning or programming and concerns for parole plan. This section should also include any explanations, if needed, to qualify or clarify the guidelines scored based on unusual circumstances. In inmate Vader's case, this would be a good place to mention that inmate Vader has a highly probable need of anger and has not done anything to address it, and is not willing to either. It would be a good place to note that his history of violence is scored at an 8 on the compass assessment. And inmate Vader's social environment is concerning if paroled to his plan. Make sure to save the document in the saved format section. Caseworkers can share the outcome of the tool with the offender, however, the tool itself should not be shared with offenders. We have briefly gone over completed the Pdgt. Remember, each inmate's score will be different and need to be looked at carefully.